Today's incident will wake up your soul. Please watch the incident till the end. My daughter's funeral was ready, but whoever came to read the funeral would run away from there, touching his ears and refusing to read the funeral, while my daughter looked like a flower in a white shroud. I was sitting on my daughter's dead body and crying when suddenly it was 7 in the evening, but my daughter Sana had not yet returned home from the madrasa. She used to go there to teach Quran Majid. Earlier, she used to come home every day at 5. Today, I don't know why she was so late. I was worried about my 14-year-old daughter. I took a sheet on my head and ran towards the madrasa. After going there, I came to know that my daughter had left from there at 5, but why had she not reached home till now? My daughter was very noble and decent. She had never looked at any man. I came back to my home from there, crying. My daughter had no one except me. Her father had died many years ago. As soon as I stepped inside the house, my daughter was sitting in front of me and crying. Her hair was open, and her condition was very bad. I knew at first glance what had happened to my daughter. I started screaming. Hearing my voice, a few women from the neighborhood came to my house and started saying, "Sadaf Paji, why are you screaming so much?" "I am fine," I said while crying. "Look at the condition of my daughter. What has happened to her?" This woman stared at my daughter from head to toe, and then, taking a deep breath, said, "From the condition of this poor girl, it seems that someone has wronged her." Meanwhile, another woman said, "Did you not know about your daughter's deeds? She has come here after disgracing herself with someone. Now see how innocent she's acting." I was not able to tolerate the words of these women. I held my daughter's hand and went to SP Sahab's house, who lived in a neighborhood very close to our house. He was a very good person. I told him everything and said, "For God's sake, please help me." When Ilyas Sahab saw my daughter, he was also shocked. He consoled my daughter and asked, "Son, what has happened to you? Tell me the truth. I am standing for you and will fight for you. My job is to get you justice. Tell me the names of these monsters who have done this to you." My daughter started crying bitterly. She hugged me and said, "Amma, I am not able to show my face to anyone now." Ilyas Sahib's eyes also filled with tears. "She is your orphan daughter. I am feeling very sorry for her, but being a mother, you can talk more to her. You can take her home, but it is also necessary to get her tested so that we can find out who are the monsters who ruined your daughter. We will take her to the hospital. She will have to be tested. I will catch the culprits myself. Even if she does not say anything, after a few days, her condition will improve, and she will slowly tell you everything herself." I am very satisfied with his saying this. Then he made us sit in his car, and we went to the hospital. All the tests of my daughter were done in his presence, and then we came home. My daughter's face was swollen with tears flowing from her eyes. I asked Sana, "Daughter, did you know them? How many people were there? Who were they, and where do they live?" "Amma, they have said that if I tell anyone about them, they will kill you and me." Saying this, she started crying again. I tried to feed her, but she went inside the room, gathering her broken self. I did not dare to go after her and console her. My daughter's character was very transparent. My daughter always took the name of Allah. She used to teach the Quran to children. She was a Hafiz Quran. She used to stay away from a lot of things. I was thinking why this had happened to my daughter. I fell asleep thinking. When I woke up at 6 in the morning, the first thought that came to me was of my daughter Sana. I went towards the room where Sana was sleeping, but the door of her room was closed. I tried to open the door. The door opened, but the scene in front of me shocked and troubled me. Tears started flowing from my eyes. My daughter was lying on the bed like a lifeless bird. My daughter had taken her own life. I thought that my daughter had committed suicide. I went to Ilyas Sahab's house and told him that my daughter had committed suicide. He came running to my house, and after seeing everything, he told me that your daughter did not commit suicide, but she died due to fear and grief. I started praying to Allah that I wished he had picked me up instead of my daughter. I wrapped my daughter in a sheet, and then I informed all the people in the neighborhood that my daughter had left this world. Upon getting this information, some women from the neighborhood came to my house to pay their last respects. Some sympathized with me, but most of the women were very sad. They were strange. A woman from the neighborhood said, "Your daughter looked very decent, but look what has happened to the poor girl. Your daughter was good, but her conduct ruined her. I feel sorry for you. How could you have survived despite having such a daughter? Be thankful that you were saved from her on time, otherwise I don't know what would have happened to you later." I was patient at this time because I believed only in Allah. I had to bury my daughter. But all those women were asking me about pulao and biryani. This is also a strange ritual of this world. A mountain of sorrow falls on a house, a person dies, the funeral is lying there, and the people present there are worried about food and drink. This is also mentioned in the hadith that in the house where death takes place, do not cook anything for 3 days. But here there are strange rituals. In the house where the funeral takes place, people look for biryani and pulao. I told these women that I am a poor woman, I am a widow, my daughter was an orphan, I have nothing to feed you people. One woman said with her hand on her mouth that all this is very important. I did not need these women at this time. Now I had to find a woman who could bathe my daughter's body and wrap it in a shroud, because this work is also done properly. Not everyone can do this. As soon as I started going out of the house, some women came forward to lift my daughter's body and said that we would bathe her. But you will see that you will face a lot of difficulties in her funeral. Even after dying, she has become a source of anxiety for you. I did not believe in the words of these women because I was myself a witness to my daughter's purity. My daughter was given a bath. After some time, the woman who bathed her came out and started touching their ears. Tauba, even if your daughter had been alive, she would have been of no use. You had freely given your daughter freedom. I feel that this cruelty was not done to your daughter without reason. She must also know those people who brought her to this state. You wonder why someone got into a fight with an unknown girl while walking. I was surprised that these people were so scared thinking of me to be a widow. Because I was a widow, I did not have biryani and pulao to give them, so everyone was talking all this about me. I had said only one sentence: whoever has done this cruelty, Allah will punish him. After a while, the men of the neighborhood gathered outside the house, but everyone's eyes were blank because there was nothing to eat in the house. When I came out, I told the Maulvi Sahab of the nearby mosque that my daughter's funeral was ready and that you should read the funeral. After listening to me, he refused and said, "I cannot even think of reading your daughter's funeral." I said, "Why do you want to read my daughter's funeral? I can't think of it." Then Imam Sahab said, "Your daughter has not only spoiled her name, but also the name of all the girls going to the madrasa. Many people are also blaming me for this because she was a girl from my madrasa, and now I am being defamed because of her. Whatever has happened to her, she must also be at fault in this. We will not conduct her funeral." All the people from the neighborhood who had come were standing silently, watching the spectacle and agreeing with Imam Sahab. Imam Sahab refused to conduct the funeral. As soon as people came to know that my daughter is lying in a shroud and there is no one to conduct her funeral. I was talking about this when I heard a noise from outside. Who is this Maulvi Sahib? Where has he come from, and why would he perform the funeral procession of this girl? Then I went outside and saw. So, a Maulvi Sahab was standing outside. He had come to read my daughter's funeral. A little hope arose in my heart. I thought that now he would also get caught in the circle of sawab and sin, and would ask me how my daughter reached this condition. But it was not so. Maulvi Sahib came with a very serious face to read my daughter's funeral and to shoulder her coffin. But the surprising thing was that a group of 40 people had also come with him, who were wearing white clothes. I started looking at them carefully. They were wearing white turbans and white clothes. Looking at them, it seemed that these people have come from a very clean environment. No one had seen them here before. This was a locality of poor people. But the clothes of these people were clean and shining. It seemed as if light was coming out of their clothes. My heart was at peace. If such a good group will read my daughter's funeral, then at least the stain on my daughter will be reduced. I looked at these women with pride and said, "Look, Maulvi Sahib has brought 40 people to read my daughter's funeral, and I don't know why I felt relieved." Then the old man who had come to read my daughter's funeral started telling me that this girl was a heavenly soul. The fragrance of the heavenly soul is coming from her body. That is why we have come to read her funeral. After this group of 40 people lifted my daughter's funeral from our house and went out. My daughter's funeral was taken to a ground nearby. The rest of the people were also ashamed by now. They too listened to Maulvi Sahib and followed him to the ground. I was surprised that Maulvi Sahib had neither a mic nor a speaker, but his voice was very loud. No one had ever heard such a loud and pleasant voice. My heart was getting some peace. My daughter's smiling face was emerging in my mind. It seemed as if my daughter was telling me, "Amma, don't be sad, I have become pale." This old man performed my daughter's funeral and then took her to the graveyard himself and buried her in the grave with his own hands. I had not gone there, but people were saying that a fragrance was coming from my daughter's grave. Now the people of my village were also feeling ashamed and were calling my daughter innocent. Now all the people from my house had left. I was relieved that my daughter's funeral had been performed and she had been buried with respect. But who was that Maulvi Sahib, and from where did he come to my mind? This question was coming again and again. When the Maulvi Sahib was about to leave, I asked him where he had come from. Then he said that they had come from Aisha. Aisha Masjid was a little far from our village, but it was a very big masjid. There was always a rush there. Many thoughts were coming to my mind. I thought that I would go and thank Maulvi Sahib for respecting me. I wanted to thank Maulvi Sahib. 2 to 3 days passed like this. On the third day, I went towards Aisha Masjid. When I reached the masjid, it was time for Asar. At this time, a Maulvi Sahib was giving azan. As soon as I went inside, I was disappointed to see that a young boy was standing there who was giving azan. I asked this boy about Maulvi Sahib. Where has he gone and when he will return? After listening to me, the boy said that he had gone to Karachi for a week. I said that he had come 3 days ago to teach my daughter's funeral, and he had a group of 40 men with him. All of them were wearing white suits, and you are lying to me. Maybe that boy thought I was crazy, but I convinced him, and then I told him the whole incident. He said to me, "How is this possible? He doesn't even have so much time to go and teach your funeral." There must have been some misunderstanding. I was shocked to hear this. He said, "Mostly I am here. Till date I have not seen him going to anyone's funeral, and you are saying that your daughter died 3 days ago, whereas Maulvi Sahib has been in Karachi for the last 1 week. So how is it possible that he comes to teach your daughter's funeral? May Allah give you patience, but there is nothing like that. This is a mosque, not a madrasa." The boy's words were falling into my ears but were not going into my mind. I was not able to understand what had happened. Then a thought came to my mind that Allah had himself protected my daughter's honor. My daughter was not at fault. She was very innocent. I thanked this boy and came back. After a few days, the criminals who had ruined my daughter were also caught. There were a few immoral boys in our village who had a bad eye on the girls of the village. My daughter became the target of these monsters. Those were the 3 boys who were caught by SP Ilyas Sahib. Their father had offered a lot of money and land to Ilyas Sahib, but he refused all this and presented these boys in the court. The court had also sentenced them to 10 years of imprisonment. SP Ilyas was very ashamed. He had caught the criminals of my daughter's murder, but he could not save my daughter's life. I had no complaint against them. Today, 5 years have passed since this incident. The Imam Sahib who had come to the village and the 40 men who were with him were never seen again, and to date, I am unable to understand the secret hidden behind this deed of Allah.